Welcome to Made for More. I am your host, Holly J. Moore. This is a podcast where we try and give you the tools that you need to show up as the best version of yourself. And of course, I am joined with my better half, Aaron Bender.
There's no such thing as a better half when in the same room as Holly. You would think, knowing the schedule, knowing, hey, there's a stylist coming on, I would switch out of one of the 4 shirts that I have in rotation coming into the office and coming out of the podcast. And any of the people watching or listening, we've recorded 18 episodes today, so you've seen this shirt many, many times.
It only feels like 18.
Yeah, and I don't know if people notice. Like, do they know I only wear like 4 shirts?
Okay, well, so, listen up, Aaron, because I think Lee would say, 1, it's not about what other people notice, and 2, it's more about like something that's going on inside and how you're expressing that with what you wear. And the other thing is it's you have your 4 shirts that you rotate. And if that's what works for you, like she might, stamp that and say approved.
Well, Abby, my fiance, noticed this. Okay. So she did, there was noticing. Okay.
Okay. Well,
and she did get me a statement. This is actually one of the new shirts, which is now in the rotation.
Very nice.
It's replaced one of the other 4 shirts. But like on Wednesdays in the office, we wear pink.
We do wear pink on
Wednesdays.
Wednesdays.
So I've got a pink, purple, Barney looking shirt. She's not going to like to hear that. But I'm also colorblind, so there's that. So, you throw out what you've got and you make it work.
No. Okay. Now that Lee will be like, no, we're not doing that. You got to be intentional. And when I first started working with Lee, she like really wanted me to step outside of what I had been wearing, which is a blazer. And I'm like, nope, no. And she's like, can you wear like a dress? Nope. If it doesn't have a blazer, I'm not doing it. Like my blazer is my cape. It's like my Superman cape. I can't do what I do without a blazer on for whatever reason. And so after like a couple conversations about trying to get me out of a blazer, finally she's like, okay, you are a blazer is you. Like, we're going to go with the blazer.
Trailblazer.
Oh, yes. I am here today with Lee Heyward, who we've been referring to as a stylist. But Lee, you are so much more than that. So thank you for being here today. But also, please tell us actually what you really do, because it is really and truly so much more than just a stylist.
Well, that's the secret of the magic, right? Like nobody really knows what I do, including myself, which isn't really true. But I did start as a stylist, and it sort of evolved into what I realized is this quest to just ensure that all humans that I'm meant to come into contact with live at their fullest potential. And so I happen to do that through the lens of people's businesses most of the time. But the idea is this concept that your image is directly related to every result you're getting in life. And so I believe that if that is, true, then let's control it and strategically put ourselves in a place to live the exact life that we want. And so I happen to do that by helping people change their clothes, but it's never really about the clothes.
Right. Yeah. That's the point that I really want everyone to understand is like, this isn't just some superficial thing where you're going to pick out a cute outfit that would look cute on anyone. You could put it on a mannequin, you could put it on anybody in a lineup and it would be great. Like, it's really so much more than that. It's so much deeper, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, I think the word authenticity gets thrown around now that, maybe it goes in one ear and out the other. But that's really the name of the game, is like discovering the true core of who you are and then using tools, whether that is an outfit or the environment you put yourself in or the way you're showing up, to truly honor that core of who you are. And that's why, particularly with clothes, because it's so easy, there's nothing permanent. You put something on your body and you either feel that it increases the, your vibration and how you feel about yourself, or it doesn't, and you take it off. It's no biggie. And that's not how anybody really ever goes about thinking about their image. It's more, we have this very strange way that we learn to get dressed, which was, you have to wear this for that. You can't wear this for that. Your mom said, no way, Jose, on that. Or like it's just a hodgepodge of like all these rules that we've made up about what you have to do here, what you have to do then. I mean, you and I have had so many conversations about that. And what if it was as easy as just honoring the core of who you are?
Yes. So as you well know, the core of who I am wears a blazer.
I know, she's a girl who loves a blazer.
I know. And when we started first like working together, probably about 5 years ago now, maybe even longer, you were like, can you try a dress? Nope, I gotta have a blazer. What about like a nice blouse? Nope, I gotta have a blazer. Like, this is my Superman cape, Lee. And finally you're like, okay, like you can have your blazers. But it's, you know, I think it's like, I don't know, the blazer for me does something, you know, it's magic for me. Like, I just feel the best when I'm wearing a blazer. And so I think that's kind of like what you're getting at is like, you know, throw out all the rules, throw out whatever, like, and be authentically you, do what makes you feel the best, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of love that you just gave the blazer example because I think this is really important. So I've written a few books in my day, and in the Strategically Suited book, I say, if you ever see me on stage, I will be in a dress. And when I wrote that book, however many years ago that was true. I needed the dress as my superpower to stand on stage in all of my core authenticity, etc. Well, now that's not the case. I can, maybe I'll wear a dress, maybe I won't. And so what's interesting is, you know, we get attached to these things and they're fantastic. But we have to constantly be asking ourselves, like, is this right? And you're a great example because, girl, one time I was like, will you please wear a pink blazer? And at that point in time, you were like, no way, Jose. And it makes my heart sing so much when you are in all your fabulous colored blazers now. So
I know.
like we have to remind ourselves that there's always this element of growth. Like you don't ever have to like, even though you love a blazer box, your blazer box continues to grow with you as you evolve and change.
True. Yes, that is so true. I actually, so, you know, I wore a suit every day back then. I still wear a suit every day, but my suits have changed quite a bit. I actually, not too long ago, I came across like a set of pictures that I had sent you when we first started working together, because you're across the country from me. So a lot of our work was virtual. And I'm like looking at these pictures like, oh my God, this is so frumpy. Like so frump a dump. Oh gosh. Like, I can't believe I was wearing that. And like, I think at the time I thought I was looking pretty good, but yeah, my style has definitely changed. But I think it really kind of goes back to like, I probably know more who I am now and maybe have felt more comfortable to really like step into that. So yeah. And also thanks to the work I've done with you too.
Oh, well, thank you. But you know, an amazing canvas to work with. But it is interesting. I mean, I don't know if you want to go down this road or not, but I'll just kind of say this because this has been my experience with a lot of my clients who are going through big life changes and divorce is one of those, where the person that you were when you started in that journey is completely different than the person that you are on the flip side. I have a client who, you know, she had been in a marriage for a long time and got divorced and was starting out in her journey to find, you know, the love that she truly desired again. And it was a really interesting process for her to kind of re-find who she was and what she desired. Because a lot of times in partnerships, we kind of get infiltrated by, you know, what other people desire for us. And sometimes we lose that core of authenticity. And I think that's just really an important reminder for all of us, whether, you know, getting divorced or any life change, that, you know, you just kind of have to go back to that little voice inside yourself that's like, what if? Could I do that?
Right. And Lee, you know, it's really interesting because I actually see that occurring a lot with particularly men who are divorcing because their wife always bought their clothes, right? And so suddenly the wife is not there to buy the clothes. I mean, they barely have a sock that doesn't have a hole in it anymore because the wife is not there. And it's like an interesting sort of like place in their life because suddenly they're like, okay, nobody is buying my clothes. Nobody's telling me what to wear anymore. And it's like I don't know if I probably have not consciously told them this, and they probably haven't put this together. So they should all call you for help on this. But it's like, it's a chance at that moment to decide, what kind of clothes do I want to wear? What do I want to express through the clothes on my body? Like, it's a chance to design it for themselves, maybe for the first time ever, because they probably went from their mom telling them what to wear to their wife telling them what to wear.
I mean, that's exactly right. And it's a very interesting phenomenon to now have this control over a piece of your identity that you never actually really gave much thought. And this does happen for a lot of my male clients. And, by doing work with me that I'm really big on, like, we have to truly like help you name sort of who you are with adjectives so that you have some basis for something. Because what happens is you ask your mom, you ask the person in the dressing room, what does this look like? What do you think? And they just give your opinion, but they have no idea if it's right for you or not. So you're the one that has to kind of do the work and sort of figure that out. And specifically for men, well, really women too, you've never really kind of taken the time to ask yourself that question. And so I love helping people figure out like what that is for them. And then I call it sort of the dial. Like, there are times where you can dial yourself right on up in all your glory. And
Lee, I dialed myself up for you today.
Yeah, girl,
look at this big hair.
I love it. And then there are other times where it's actually strategic to dial down. But here's the most important part of this. You never leave your dial. So you don't get to say, oh, because I'm going into this conservative place, I will change who I am. No, ma'am. You stay exactly who you're meant to be on that dial. And then you just go up or down, depending on what is going to be more strategic for that specific, venue or wherever you're going. And I love to look at it like that, because I think it's just more fun and ensures that we're not turning ourselves into something else.
Right. So, of course I think about my outfit for all of the podcast episodes, but I'm like, oh my gosh, Lee is coming on. I really got to think about my outfit. And at first I was like, I need like the cutest outfit I could find. And I planned this one outfit. And then I was like, oh no, I got to think of my adjectives, because when we've worked together before, my adjectives are always like badass, powerful, and classy. So I got this Dolce & Gabbana like mob boss suit. I'm like, I'm going with that suit with Lee, because these are like, this encapsulates my adjectives.
I love it.
You have to like stay in your on your dial, So
yep.
Yeah.
It's
so
I
remembered. I remember what you taught me.
Well, and I guess we'll give everybody a little reference. So, and everybody can do this exercise. It's super easy. So I think a lot of times when you start to think about your image, you look at it from the outside, and most people would assume that you would ask yourself, how do you want to look? And that's the part that gets you in trouble. So you have to start by saying, how do you want to feel? And so Holly just gave us hers. And that is how you then sort of reverse engineer it. And that's how you come up with basically this tool that allows you to dismiss things that are not for you and then adopt things that are.
Right. Yeah. So in your book, Strategically Suited.
Oh, girl, you got a lot of sticky notes. I am impressed.
I know, right? I'm like, ooh, highlighting sticky notes.
That's so fun.
There is a lot of good stuff in here. So in this book, I'll paraphrase, but you talk about how like changing your clothes can actually change your life. So tell us more about that. And let me just add something before you go down that road. You also talk about how like changing your clothes can really result in opportunities showing up like right before your very eyes. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I fully believe, and I think I like weirdly had this innate sense, before I created this career, that opportunities are everywhere. And so the way you show up helps more opportunities show up for you. And so when you're walking around sort of in your core, in your own authenticity, ready to receive that, it happens so much faster. And one of my favorite stories that's in that book, I don't know if you remember it, is there's a book called, it's out of print, but if anybody ever finds it, like scoop it up. It's called How Showmanship Sells, How Showmanship
Yes.
Sells by Elmer Letterman. Like, and my copy literally, like, it is held together. Oh, look, the sun is moving in my, my office. It's held together by rubber bands. But in that book, it's written in the 60s, and it talks about this Elmer Letterman guy who was an insurance salesman at the time. And he goes to this event, and he had previously made the decision that he would buy custom shoes. And at that time, I don't remember exactly what the numbers were, but most people's shoes were around like $10. And his shoes were like 6 to 8 times that amount. But they were extraordinarily noticeable. And so this one guy notices his shoes, starts an entire conversation about it, and it leads to over $1 million in insurance sales in the 1960s. And it's like, the number is cool, but I think it's even more cool that, like, just that one little detail was what opened the gate.
Yeah. Open the door.
To so much.
Right. Yeah. That's totally amazing. So when people, like, because there's going to be some people that are watching this, or maybe they've tuned out by now, I don't know, but they're like, clothes, it's superficial, it doesn't matter, like, this is so shallow. Like, what do you say to them, and what would you tell them about, like, a first impression?
Yeah, it's a great question. So here's the thing about clothes. Like, clothes truly are just whatever they make you feel. I mean, look at, like, Steve Jobs and Zuckerberg and all these people that we hear about.
I was going to ask you about them.
Yeah, who are like, I wear a black t-shirt every day.
Every day.
Steve Jobs supposedly had them, like, black turtlenecks made by a specific designer and just had hundreds in his closet.
Yeah.
And the rationale was that it was one less decision that had to be made during the day, which I understand. Right. But, you know, and that was their tool. So the statistic on first impressions is that you have 7 seconds to make a first impression, which, if you count it out, it's not a lot of time. And especially in this day and age where so many first impressions are actually not made face to face. They've already formed an opinion about you online or, you know, from afar, basically. I think right now, any, like, face-to-face time that we have is probably of even more importance than it's ever been. And you just have this short window for people to sort of size you up and decide whether or not they are somebody that's going to increase your life. And it is not fair that judgments exist, sure, but we got to go back and look at, like, why that is. Like, it goes back to, like, caveman times of you judge your safety based on visual cues, and then you make decisions accordingly. And so your image is the thing that, like, it sounds dramatic, but that people are judging whether or not you are a safe bet, whether or not you are going to be a good partner, whether or not you're somebody that I should talk to, whether or not you're somebody I should cross the street for. And so if you have that power, you know, maybe you want everybody to cross the street, then you use your clothes that way. But if you don't, like, let's see what we can make happen.
Right. That's, you know, I have never really thought about it in that term, where it's like we have this power, but a lot of people don't use it. You know, they're probably thinking, oh, it's clothes, it's shallow, it's superficial, who cares, doesn't matter. Not even realizing it's like this power that they're missing out on the opportunity to use that power as they see fit.
Yeah, it's so true. I think one of the best examples of this, and back in the day, literally way back in the day, I had a video where I did on this. Nobody goes inside the grocery store anymore. You know, like, I order my groceries and they get delivered or whatever.
Yeah.
But back in the day, you know, you went to the grocery store.
Right.
And even when stuff arrives, or even when you go get it, you're unpacking it or you're looking at it on the shelf. And if there is a can that's dented, you automatically assume subconsciously, like, I'm going to put this back.
Oh, totally. Like, yeah.
What
it's got to be rotten inside.
With anything, like, nothing. Like, it's not leaking. It's not rusty. Like, it's totally fine. It just has this one little dent. And it either goes on clearance because of that, or you literally pick it up or put it back. Same with, like, a cereal box. And there's no thought process, like, consciously made other than in your mind, the non-dented one is going to be a better bet.
Right. Oh, that is so true. Oh, so moral of the story is don't walk around with a dented can.
That's right.
Okay, so you say, and this is in your book too, what you wear makes you feel a certain way to get a specific result. So I know you work a lot with business owners and people in business and people that are trying to generate revenue and things like that. And I think maybe it's somewhat self-explanatory that like in business, your clothes can, get you better results, maybe get you higher profile clients, something like that. But what about somebody who's not necessarily, they don't own a business, they're not looking to make sales, they're just living their life. Maybe it's a stay-at-home mom, maybe, something like that. Like, what do you say to them in terms of what kind of intention should they have when getting dressed and deciding like how they want to present themselves to the world?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'll kind of give you a twofold answer. Like, number one, I think using your image as a tool to create the type of relationship that you desire is one of the most fascinating things I've ever been able to experience. And I'm like so blessed to have had all of these clients who, show up 3 months, 6 months, 2 years later and are like, you won't even believe what happened to me, in that regard. But it's what happens.
So wait, really quick. Yeah. Are you referring to like a romantic relationship?
Yeah. So here's an example. A client of mine, this is actually a while back, had hired me just because she was just ready to feel differently. And she knew that, there were ways that she could step it up. So we sorted that out. And she made one decision based on that. There was a party that she was invited to that she said yes to. And she said later that she would have never said yes to it if she hadn't have sort of done the work that we did, so that she actually just felt comfortable in her skin and was like, willing to try new things. And it was at that party that she met her now husband.
Oh,
but if you ask her about this, she says she would have never gone to the party. She would have never walked into that party and not sort of, if she did, she would have stood on the wall. She would have never walked in as that person that she actually was. So I think that's kind of one of the coolest tools. And then it's just amazing how certain things can make you feel. Like the way I feel in this BarbieCon Versace shirt is just different than the way I feel in something else. And the energy from that shows up for other people, and it shows up for yourself. And I don't know how to explain it, but it's just,
yeah.
It just makes things feel different, and you show up differently.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I love my Aviator Nation sweatsuits. Love them. But I definitely feel different in my Mob Boss suit than I do like wearing one of my Aviator Nation sweatsuits, for sure. So I totally
but that's a great point, Holly. So number one, I think it's really easy to justify it, investing in new clothes for like a work thing. And let's be very clear on something. Like, you do not have to spend a lot of money to feel good in your clothes. This is never about, this is not a money game. So it's more about taking those words that we talked about and applying it in every single arena of your life. So whether it's the sweatsuits, whether it's your suit at work, one of the exercises that clients have to do is go through your underwear drawer. And the reason you have to go through your underwear drawer is you have to look at that from the perspective of the words, this is a whole other podcast, your Mob Boss, underwear drawer. But I digress.
That's part two.
But what it asks you to do is honor who you are in the areas that maybe nobody cares about or nobody sees. Like, I'm not saying people don't see your underwear or whatever, but like the undergarments and the things, the socks, the things that like are kind of these like, whatever, almost like second thoughts.
Yeah.
And when you are truly honoring who you are with even something as simple as a sock or underwear, that's when you start to notice like, okay, this is how I stay on this dial all the time. And then I have the energy and power to turn it up or down depending on the result that I want.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple years ago, I actually did that with my pajamas.
Yeah.
Because I used to wear like a big t-shirt and shorts. Maybe it was my husband's old t-shirt. And they're so comfy because they get so soft and like worn out. And a couple years ago, I don't really recall why, but I made like the intentional decision that I was going to wear only a certain type of pajamas, like from this certain brand. And I do not wear big t-shirts and shorts anymore. Like I literally have like the most beautiful pajama drawer that is filled with only these specific pajamas. Very much like your underwear drawer exercise, you know, where it's like, okay, this, you know, by day, I'm mob boss in my suit, but also by night, I am also mob boss with my pajamas. I don't turn into like homeless at night like I used to.
Well, and that's such a great example because it's not like, I mean, I don't know. We haven't had, you know, a slumber party. We should arrange one, but like, you know, so I don't know what exactly you're wearing, but like, I don't think that, I can't imagine your mob boss pajamas are like leather and like I would imagine all the functionality is there, like, but it just has tiny details that like cross it over into that genre, so it feels like that for you,
right? Yes, yeah, and I think, you know, maybe it's not necessarily like mob boss, but it's just like it's put together, it's beautiful, nice silky fabric, you know, things like that, and it's like the top matches the bottoms. It's not like some haphazard situation going on. It's not my painting shirt, you know, that I used to wear, things like that. So, yeah, but those little details I think do make a difference in kind of like this top to bottom approach of like, this is who I am, you know, and it's not like I'm not only this in these situations or at this time, like this is it 24/7, 365.
Yeah. And it's one of my favorite social media posts that you've done. This was a while ago, was you posted a picture of like it was you and your husband traveling, and it was like your suitcases and his suitcases.
Yes.
And yours are like matching, beautiful, elegant, and his are like just duffel bag canvas. And it could not be more right. Like it's just exceptionally perfect for who each of you are. And I loved it so much. But, you know, that's a fun point to have because it's not always about clothes. Like sometimes it's
so true.
It's something as simple as a suitcase or like, you know, keeping your car clean a certain way, you know, like, so it's sometimes just the little things that make you feel aligned with who you want to be.
Right. Yes. I mean, but Lee, let's be honest, back to Jeff's suitcase. So like, yes, I will never make him carry like a Louis Vuitton suitcase. I have accepted that. I'm good with it. But like, does he really need his fireman bag that is 25 years old, that literally still smells like smoke because it's actually been at wildland fires? To go to Vegas, to stay at, you know, the Wynn in Vegas, like the poor bellman probably doesn't even want to touch that thing.
Listen, he's not here to defend himself, so we can only go so far with this.
I know.
I think, but it's such a fun example because it's just truly honors the core of who each of you are, and it's kind of interesting from a partnership level, right? Like you don't have to be exactly the same, like. You know?
Yeah. Oh, thank God we're not. Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah. Whew. I mean, that's how I feel. Like, not about you and your husband, but me and my husband. We don't need two of each of us.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. That would be a lot. Okay. So in your book, you talk about the EDGE formula. Tell us about that.
Well, so I'm going to make this like the very short version because this can go on for a while. But the idea is truly monitoring sort of each area of your image so that you get, I always call it the edge in the moments that matter. And the reason you do the work to sort of get that edge in the moments that matter is to eliminate what I call record skip moments. Those moments where somebody meets you or you have an interaction and they're like, that's not what I thought. And so now instead of them meeting you and moving forward and things sort of going in the direction that you intended, their brain is subconsciously going backwards like, should I be talking to this person? Should I be doing this? And so when you start to kind of come at it from this like sort of more formulaic place, it asks you to say, am I going to truly be able to walk into the room and have an edge over everybody else in the room? And that's not about being, I'm here, like shiny light, bright, you know, standing out, or I guess I should say sticking out. It's not about sticking out. It's about really curating this image that helps you stand out in the right way.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. Okay. So switching gears a little bit, because you've helped a lot of adults, but now you've done something for kids.
Yeah.
You wrote the children's book, Mirror Friends, Find the Magic Inside. So what compelled you to write this book, which I absolutely love, by the way. And as soon as I got it in the mail, I read it to my 3 girls, who, by the way, can all read themselves. And they're like, Mom, we can read it. I'm like, no, I'm going to read it to you. But what compelled you to write this book?
Well, so it's kind of a funny story, and I kind of love sharing it because I hope that anybody who hears it and ever had a thought of like, I would love to write a book, takes my story and goes and writes a book, because there was no thought to this. There was no plan to this. Like, the honest truth of what happened is I had a debate with myself. This was on a Monday. On Mondays, I block my schedule so I don't have any face-to-face interaction, and I'm a people person. So I literally have a conversation with myself about how I should not go pick up takeout for lunch, and that I should just eat the lunch I have. Back and forth. And I was like, I'm going. So I go, you get the human interaction. Hello, thank you, blah, blah, blah. Fills my bucket. I'm on my way home. And whoop, like the whole book just comes to my head, to the point where I pull over and I write it down. And I was like, okay, what do I do with this? Like, I had never intended to write a children's book. And so it just sort of started the process. And so it really was as simple as like, okay, I'm going to go do this and figure it out. I knew nothing about illustrators. I knew nothing about a children's book side of things. This was my 3rd book, but it's a whole different thing. And I just kept going and sort of made the decisions all from the place of what I wanted the book to be. And what I truly desire it to be is something that inspires the person reading it to their children to realize that they truly can feel and be anything that they desire. But then more importantly, so much of my work is, I'm going to say, kind of undoing a lot of the sort of core wounds and things that we accumulate through our childhood.
Right.
And so if there are kids that can read that and have, just a little something in their head to realize that, all it takes is believing in yourself.
Yeah.
That I hope that's sort of like, part of the legacy that I will leave behind. But so I just wrote a book, and then here it is.
And here it is. And I love it. And so not that your 2 bodies of work have to be connected, in terms of like your work in sort of the styling of adults arena and, and this sort of concept for kids. But I do see a connection. And the connection that I see is like, we all have the magic inside of us. We can all be and do whatever we want. But then we also use what's on the outside to kind of like bring that out, right? And present it to the world.
Yeah.
Like, that's the connection I see. I don't know if you intended that connection, but I was like, okay, like I get it. I see it.
You're like, I like this children's book. I like it.
But you know what? I almost texted you right away when I got it, but I didn't want to bother you too much. But like, I need this outfit. Oh, the card that you wrote me is still inside. Oh. This like leopard skirt.
Okay.
Girl, I need that in my life.
So this is a little bit of a funny story. So like I said, I didn't know anything about the children's book world. So I kind of just figured it out as I went along. And part of my interviewing for the illustrator, which, bless Marty Peterson. He's the illustrator of Mirror Friends. He's an amazing human. But I said up front, you need to understand what you're getting yourself into, because I am going to have so many opinions about what this girl wears. And it can't look a certain way. And you're going to send me a shoe that's like too fat or too clunky. And this is exactly what happened. And he was like, okay. Like, so we had up front this little like come to Jesus about what it would be like to create these girls' outfits.
Okay.
And I actually like created a like mood board for the character so that he could like that outfit. Like, I was like, I like this outfit. Like,
yes.
And so that's kind of how it happened. But it was very funny because I knew I had to find the right person who could deal with me in that arena. But I also knew I couldn't put out a book where like, the stuff wasn't cute. I mean, come on.
Right. Oh, gosh. I know. God forbid. Yeah, that'd be terrible. Okay, so I have one last question for you, Lee. And I don't think you saw the kerfuffle that I caused on Instagram a few weeks ago over a Gucci belt. But I told the two people that watch my stories, I told the people I would go to the experts with this question and ask you.
Oh, okay.
So, yes. So what happened was I was wearing a Gucci belt and I was like, took a outfit picture or something. And I'm like, oh, okay, I know that the Gucci belt is kind of like out now, but I love it anyway. And I'm just going to still wear it. I don't really care. And like this created a firestorm of stuff. And people were sending me Pinterest boards of outfits showing me the Gucci belt is still in. There's nothing wrong with it. Look at these outfits, all have the Gucci belt in them. And people were like, no, this, that, and the other. I mean, sending me their persuasive arguments. They were writing briefs. They were doing all the things. And I'm like, guys, keep in mind, like, remember I said, like, if you got it, if you love it, still wear it. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm wearing mine. Like, I'm not judging. But anyway, I promised them I would ask you your thoughts on the Gucci belt. So do you have any thoughts on the Gucci belt?
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed this whole thing. What have I been doing?
Where have you been?
Okay. I mean, here's the thing. The Gucci belt has definitely like been around, but Gucci is a classic. Like it's here to stay forever. And I think it sort of ebbs and flows. It's a bit like Hermes, right? Like, yes, it's just such a classic. And then, so I ride horses, and so the belt thing is very funny because depending on the genre of riding you do, depends on which designer you wear where.
Right. Yes.
So there's all these rules. So I think give Gucci some love. Keep wearing it. It's totally fine.
Okay. All right.
The
expert has spoken.
Bang the gavel. Yes. Make it so.
Yes. Boom. Yes. Done. Gucci belt approved. Well, thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for the work that you do. I know you've helped me kind of come into my own and so many others. And also, I want it to be clear, in case it hasn't been clear so far, like you also work with a lot of men. You work with women, but you work with a lot of men, business owner men, right?
Yes, we both. Everybody is. Yeah. It's so fun to have both.
Yeah. So where can people find you if they want to know more about the work that you do, or they actually want to work with you one-on-one?
Yeah, so you can visit my website, which is prosperousimage.com, or leeheyward.com, Lee and then Hey. I'm sure y'all will have it in show notes, but visit and reach out. And it all stems from just a conversation of what is it that you truly desire, and what's the vision for that, and how do we reverse engineer to get that result through your image?
Here's a little bit more to say on this topic. We all want to show up as the best version of ourselves, and we all want to feel unstoppable. So what is it for you that makes you feel that way? I encourage you to find it. Find your cape, like I found my blazer as my Superman cape. Find that thing that makes you feel absolutely amazing and go with it, and align everything in your life to make you feel that way. Comment, like, subscribe, and please don't ever forget you were made for more.